on my
Hey everybody,
understanding.
it's Matt Johnson. This is the Team Building Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. And just want to thank you real quick. If you haven't already subscribed, make sure to do so here on YouTube. And then if you prefer the audio versions, just head on over to iTunes and Stitcher and subscribe there to get the audio versions. And we're going to cover something really interesting today. So we're joined by Andy Cuny, the success manager of our Omaha team, as well as handling the accountability and success management for all of our expansion teams nationwide. And we're going to go through the exact process that he uses on his individual one-on-one meetings with agents to hold them accountable, to dip into their lead conversion, their follow-up, and make sure that they're following processes and best practices that they've laid out and all this stuff. So we're going to get into all of that. In the meantime, if you are not watching this live, make sure to go check out EliteRealEstateSystems.com, where you can get information on all of our team building workshops, the expansion if you're interested in partnering with us to build a dominant real estate team in your market. Whatever that looks like, you can go to the website to get more information on the different options for how we can potentially help you do that. So with that being said, let's bring in Andy Cuny. Andy, what's up today?
Hey, man, it's great. It's great to be on the podcast with you. I'm really excited to go over this. It's something that we have found is very, very important for us to be. It's the accountability factor. I'm meeting with each agent every week, one-on-one. It gives us kind of that time to get very serious and kind of drill down. We have our team meetings, things like that. But I tell you what, that one-on-one meeting with each agent each week is super important.
Yeah. So let's talk just from a practical standpoint. You as the success manager, you're still in production. You still have a ton of other stuff on your plate. So first of all, how are you scheduling them, and how long are the meetings?
Okay. Well, we meet with each agent every week for 20 minutes. So so that I can keep my sanity, we try and group those together as much as possible.
Right.
So on a Monday, we have our team meeting, so we obviously have the whole team there at once in the morning, right, for our team accountability meeting. Then afterwards, I will have approximately 14 one-on-ones. I'm able to get through, right, Mondays, I time block. This is my day where I'm having one-on-one with the agents. I'm available. They're 20 minutes apiece, so you can get through 3 in an hour. And then I take a day off. On Tuesdays, I'm working my own clients, my own business. Then on Wednesday, we hop back in. We try and group trainings as well, because we want to make sure that attendance is great. If agents are already going to be here with me for one-on-one meetings on Wednesday, that's when we throw in our dialogue and call blitz as well, because we want to have them around the office, take advantage of it. So then I'll have it will be 8 one-on-one meetings on Wednesdays as well. Okay. So all my one-on-one meetings are usually on Monday or Wednesday every week for 20 minutes apiece.
And so I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but just talk to me a little bit. What's the consequence, or what's the reaction if somebody cancels, bails, whatever the case is, or has to reschedule their one-on-one for that week?
Okay, so what we do is I have what I guess maybe like what a professor would call is I have office hours. So I do have some time available throughout the week where they can reschedule.
Okay.
Now they've got to let me know if they're going to miss though ahead of time, because there are other agents who'd like to slide into their time slot. Right. You know what I mean? Things like that. So they've got to let me know if there's no call, no show, I guess is what you'd want to say. Then it's my job during that 20 minutes, I'm reaching out to them. It's usually a client ran long, something like this, something like that. I had a doctor's appointment or forgot to let you know, and then we'll get it rescheduled. One off here and there, not a problem. If they're producing, you know what I mean? If they're a good solid agent, I'm okay with that. But what it does do is we track all of that, because we track attendance along with everything else. It helped me to see if this is a pattern and if this is going to be an issue.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. All right. So let's dive into the checklist part, and what we come out of it with is essentially a checklist that somebody else could use, that they could sit down and if they just take notes on what you're going to say here, they could literally take this template and start using it with their agents immediately, even if it's just 4 of them. If you've got a few buyers agents and something like that. So it applies just as well to small teams. In fact, the smaller your team, the more you can probably stretch out the one-on-ones to, I know some people that do lunches. I know some people that do, I was just talking to a team leader in Salt Lake the other day. Their one-on-one meetings are a half hour because their team is the size of 7. It's like 7 agents. So you can stretch this out, and you can add things to the checklist, or you can just not compress it in terms of time as much. But let's get into the first part. So when somebody sits down with you for the first time, not for the first time, but when they first sit down with you, what is the first thing that you go over with them in terms of this one-on-one meeting?
Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is, and we'll just be very, very practical about what happens. They'll sit down, and it'll be small talk. It'll be small talk as I'm entering in their numbers. Say, hey, Matt, how's it going? How was your last week? How was the weekend? Right? Simple small talk. and I'm going to put in their numbers, their call goals, contacts, clients, appointments they went on, how many contracts did we execute. I'm entering in all their numerical data into our spreadsheets as we're talking. They'll usually bring up things that was great or had an issue with this, those types of things. Then next thing we're going to do is on my spreadsheet that I keep, and it's very important, I do all of the number entering with them sitting with me. Okay, I do that in front of them. I want them to see the physical act of me keeping tabs, right, and putting all these numbers in.
This is the agent accountability tracker as far as where they're showing up, how many meetings they're going to, and all this stuff that kind of gauges their involvement in the team.
Absolutely. I'm going to put in front of them in the spreadsheet that they attended. I'm going to ask them, hey, how many calls did you make this week? If their calls were low, they're going to see me put in that low number in their time slot, right? So these are all the things that I do in front of them. Would it be a lot quicker and easier for me to do it on my own? Absolutely. But I do it in front of the agent because I want to then either ask them, why were our calls so low? Why was our activity so low? Or pat on the back. That is a great job. Look at this. 4 weeks in a row, you've doubled your call goal. You know what I mean? And we can revisit that. So it allows me to either kind of lean on or lift up depending on what their activity's been. So that's the number one thing is we'll sit down and enter in all of those types of numbers. Attendance, goals, calls, that kind of stuff. The next thing that we're going to do is I will physically go through their CRM with them. And we will go through every category. So we'll literally go through each category and we'll find out how many leads, if any, are deficient. So in your new category, have you reached out to everybody? Have you set them up on the correct e-alerts, the email drips? Have you sent text messages, right? And did you leave a voicemail? All of these things. Then we'll go to qualify, nurture, watch, all the way down. And I will enter in and I will physically go through and check all the leads. It's time consuming. Boy, it's effective. It's very effective because it's painful to sit there and add up the leads that are behind. You know what I mean? And it's almost like they're like, you know, but they do it. But they do it. And I'll run into them down, like somebody with a meeting on a Monday, I'll run into them on a Thursday. I'll be like, hey, Matt, how's it going today? And they're like, great, I'm getting all my leads taken care of, so Monday's not painful. Love it. Right? You know what I mean? And you've got to remind them. I listened to a podcast you did a little bit ago about somebody giving you their nagging rights so that they can have the bragging rights, and I loved it. And that's what they're doing. They're setting their own goals. I don't come in and tell them what their goal is. Right? I mean, and this is stepping back a little bit big picture, but I don't tell them what their goal is. They let me know what their goal is, and then we make everything according to that. Right? If you want to accomplish this, this is what's going to be needed. So therefore, they're giving me nagging rights, basically. And so I'm going to be sitting down, and so when you hear of accountability, you don't want it to be the big brother watching over you, waiting to pounce when you don't do what you were told. Right? This is hey, you told me this is, I know you want to accomplish this. We got to get this done. What can we change? So after we go through all of the numbers, right? We've entered in all their call goals. We've gone through all their leads in their CRM to make sure they're up to date and they're handling leads the way we want. Then we're going to sit down and I have notes taken on our spreadsheet about what was their 7-day goal. What was it that they were to accomplish between last Monday when we met and this Monday when we meet? And we'll go over it. Did they or did they not accomplish it, right? It could have been as simple as, I want to update all of my Zillow, Trulia, and Realtor.com pages, right? Or I want to make sure that I reached out with a handwritten note to my 10 champions. It could be, I wanted to interview lenders and talk about MSAs, right? It's going to be different with each agent, right? There's going to be your agent who's busting out 70 deals a year, and there's going to be your agent who's 5 deals and wants to do some training on the purchase agreement. And that's absolutely okay. You know, you've got to wear a different hat depending on the agent that walks through the door. So, but you want to make sure that it's not one size fits all either, right? If you just have the standard meeting every time, and you're like, I just want to make sure that you're reaching your numbers, you're going to lose a lot of people. You've got to make it very individualized. That agent who comes in and is maybe only done 5 or 10 deals ever, you've got to cater it to them, right? To help them take the baby steps to, you know, accomplish what they need. The guy who's doing 70 deals a year, he doesn't want to hear about, hey, you know, you made 125 calls instead of 100 this week. You know what I mean? You've got to cater it and make it value add. Help him accomplish his goals.
All right. So 7-day goal, is that is there any steps after that, or is it then just individual coaching from there on out?
Well, after the 7-day goal, did we or did we not accomplish it? Then we're going to talk about what's going to be our 7-day goal now, right, for the next 7 days.
Oh, gotcha.
So we'll go. So and it started out, I mean, it's valuable, but it started out as a way for me to remember what each agent needs to do because I meet with 25. So you know what I mean? So it was a way for me just to take notes, and now I used to keep it private. Now I keep it public. You know what I mean? I let everybody see it. And I'm like, yep, this is exactly what we're going over. It's also going to help because I know we've all run into this. Anybody who's, you know, a manager or a sales manager, success manager for their agents, agent will come in and say this. You know, they'll say, oh yeah, no, that never happened. We never talked about that. Or, oh, you know what? I don't remember that. Oh, is that what I was supposed to do? Right? Everything is written down. I now have them type it in. So every time that there's a 7-day goal, I hand them the keyboard, they type it in themselves.
Oh, that's interesting.
They type it in themselves because you know what? It is their goal. It is what they wanted to accomplish. It is now my job to help them do so.
Right. I love it.
And
that's
then,
awesome.
So then after we have the 7-day, hey, what do we want to accomplish? We got this accomplished last week. We did or didn't. Why didn't we? Do we need to revisit time blocking? You know what I mean? And if that's the case, then we'll sit down and we'll pull out a schedule and we'll go through it. Now, it sounds like a lot that you're getting through in 20 minutes, right? But but you got to understand a lot of the numerical things can take 5 to 7 minutes, you know, and then you're on to the other stuff right away. And then if there's an area where an agent's struggling, we can schedule some one-on-one time, you know, later on in the week. But after we get our 7-day goal set up, then we kind of push all the numbers off to the side and we just have a talk. Where are you struggling? Where do you think you're crushing it right now? What can we do more of? What do we need to be doing less of? I use that time to get feedback on the team. If you could change one thing about the team right now, what would it be? You know, if we could do one more thing than we do now, what would that be? Where do you feel like you're struggling the most? And we have that kind of conversation.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, and we'll get into that in future episodes because that's one of the things that we'll do is I want to bring on other people that are managing the actual agents, both in terms of you know, whoever's leading the team, but also in terms of sales, like people that have your similar role, whether they're a operations manager that are over the agents or a sales manager, that kind of role, depending on how big the team is. So there's other people out there that are filling that role that they have the challenges every day that you do, which is you're dealing with a pretty wide spectrum of agents. I mean, some people are even dealing with listing partners that are making multiple 6 figures and doing 100+ deals a year, all the way down to a buyer's agent who's doing 5 or 10 deals a year, or something like that. So I mean, these can be all over the board. So we'll bring on people that will really dive into, and you guys can share kind of specific coaching strategies for how you guys handle specific agents and how to get them motivated and all that stuff. So that's, as we move into and get further along with the podcast, that's kind of what your sessions will focus on.
Perfect.
But so let's just go through that again. So make sure we didn't leave anything out. So first of all, you're starting off with just entering their numbers in front of them, and chit chat, just kind of establishing rapport and keeping in touch and stuff like that. So, and the data entry that you're doing is kind of the same 5 things they're reporting at the team meeting. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
So they all know this stuff. They're expected to come Monday morning, and they're giving these numbers out publicly. So when you come to a one-on-one, there's no excuse for them to not have that information at their fingertips. You're literally just taking what they give you, and they're verbally telling it to you again in private after they've already spoken in public, and then you're just typing it in.
Yep.
All right. So then you're getting into the so talk a little bit about the agent accountability, the tracker, and what all that you're tracking in terms of their engagement with the team.
Okay, so the tracker is the first half of the tracker is going to be attendance. Okay, and like I said, we try and group things around the one-on-ones with our team trainings as well. So we have team trainings or meetings every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I will track whether they came to our specifically, this is team specific, but did they come to our team meeting on Monday, yes or no? Did they come to the one-on-one with me, yes or no? Did they come to our dialogue training on Wednesday, our call blitz following it, and then did they come to the team training on Friday? Okay. Now, some agents may sit back, especially the high producers, and say, I'm not coming to all those. You know what I mean? They're too busy out there doing money producing activities, right? Yeah. But the thing is A, it's important to make it available, right? Because you want to make sure you onboard and you bring your other agents up to speed so they can be the high producers. And B, we don't make it mandatory if you're at goal. The only mandatory meetings each week are going to be the team accountability meeting where we all meet once a week. And then you're one-on-one with me. After that, if you are at goal, it's not necessary that you're at those other meetings.
Gotcha. Okay. That makes sense. All right. So is anything else on the accountability tracker?
We have we have one column there where I leave it. It's completely up to me. So if I find an agent doing something outside of what we are requiring, they're reading an extra book, they have a tips group, right? They're doing a training by another coach. Whatever it is, if I feel they're going outside the box to try and gain knowledge, I will then also give them an attendance point for that.
Okay.
What that does is that tallies up all the way across the screen, and we have 7 categories, right? So 7 categories. If you busted out a 7, you had great attendance and you're thinking outside the box on your own to improve yourself. If you have a 2, a 1, it was a pretty light week for you, right?
That's a light week for you. Oh,
it is a light week for you. So what we do is, and 1 week is a snapshot, right? That doesn't do a ton for us. But the fact is that we have all these tabs for every week. So we have 52 tabs a year, right? And I can go back and I can start to see attendance. Where's it at? And I can start to see, you know what, you're at 5 events a week over the last 3 months. That's not going to cut it, right? If you want this to be your goal, this is what you're going to need. And the great thing about it is I can sit here and show agents who are right around maybe the 20 unit mark and they're trying to get over that hump. And I can say, well, look at guy who's doing 70 right now. Let's go back the last 6 months, 18 months, 24 months. Let's look at what his attendance was like, right? His attendance was killer because he was doing all the things he needed to do.
Yeah.
And it's great to show examples because everybody just assumes that the awesome agent was just awesome, right? They just were that way.
Yeah.
Well, no, they were the one showing up every day to the meetings, doing all the things that they needed to do. And we just give them the roadmap. And there's nothing better than to be able to show them the numbers instead of just being able to tell them. And
well,
so
not only show them the numbers, but I think, you know, human beings are very attached to stories like that. That a lot of times has more psychological impact than the numbers. Now, when you combine the two things and you have stories backed up by the numbers, and you can't, it makes the story more powerful, and then the story is what gets us. Okay, yeah, I know, I need to come to the team meetings, and yeah. It's so it's good that you have that like in the chamber, so to speak.
Yes, real life examples are wonderful.
Yeah. All right, so you got through the agent accountability matrix. You enter everything right in front of them, and then you're kind of tracking it, and that way you kind of know, like that gives you a huge heads up when somebody's having an issue, not just in their production. Like that, those are lagging indicators, right? And there's other people that are, like some of Lars Hedenberg's coaching clients have talked a lot about this. Anybody that's read, I think, any of Gino Wickman's stuff, like Traction, talks about leading indicators and lagging indicators. Like you are right on the front lines. Like you're the one that gets the leading indicators when something's up, whether it's something in their life is going off, whether it's, they're, not mentally engaged with the team, they're not mentally engaged in their business, like whatever it is, it starts showing up in meeting attendance and the way they behave in one-on-ones right away.
Attitude first, attendance second, and then the third will be production. Right? Because we all know production takes 2-3 months before you start having the bad stuff, right?
Yeah.
All deals aren't being put together because we weren't doing the activities needed. But it's attitude first, then when attitude starts souring, then it's attendance, and then it's production. So we want to know those things before. But yeah, and that's the thing is you want to be meeting with these people is, yeah, it's great to meet with them, to talk with them, do all these. It's very important to do so. You also want to be building a relationship with them. You can't fake it. They will know. Right? You have to genuinely care that they're successful. Yeah. Right? You have to care. And you have to show that you're willing to help them time block. And these things allow you to do so. So when you sit down and help them time block and they've been hammered on about, I got to make calls, I got to put deals together, I got to go to trainings, and you're helping them trying to time block date night with their significant other or kids on the weekend, but you show that that's just as important. Yeah. Once they see you doing those things, right, there's a level of trust being built. Yeah. And then when it comes time to where they are struggling, they will say, Andy, I'm really struggling with X, Y, or Z, right? And they'll be vulnerable. But you need them to do those things because guess what? You can't help them. And they will see right through you and you don't care.
Yeah, it reminds me of something that oh yeah, no, it's 100% true. It's funny like the building the genuine relationship stuff and caring about what goes on outside of their work life. Yep. It reminds me of something that somebody that I really respect and is very well known in the real estate community said that really bothered me. He was talking about the role of a real estate coach and why would you hire, like the role of a real estate coach, if you're paying someone to coach you, which effectively is what somebody's doing when they join your team, right? They're not just, they don't want leads, they want the support to actually get where they claim they want to go, right? So his point was that a real estate coach, why would you hire a real estate coach? that doesn't push you to produce the maximum that you're capable of producing. And you don't need someone that's taking in all of your other life stuff. Like that's a separate issue. And I'm like, that does not resonate at all with me, you know? I think people want you to. Now, you can, yeah, if you're a super successful person, maybe you have a life coach, and then you have a productivity coach, and then it's your responsibility to balance the two. But most people are not that smart. I mean, we're dealing with people that are selling, 20 homes a year. They just want a good life. They want to have a good relationship with their spouse and their kids. They want a career, not a business. That's key. We have to understand that. Like those of us that are like in the weeds on building businesses and stuff like that, like they do not share that mentality. They behave like employees. They want careers. They want work-life balance and stuff like that. And I think if we get too caught up in trying to teach them how to build a business all the time, I think you lose people because they're just as concerned about their work-life balance, whereas we let that get out of whack, maybe a little bit too much.
Yeah,
I would never speak from experience.
Well, Matt, the thing is, and I spoke about it a little bit earlier, is remember we have to make each meeting individualized. An agent, and her name is Veronica. Veronica comes in. Veronica is 40 units a year. 100 grand, she's great, right? She's chugging along. Veronica's goal is not to do now 50 or to do 60. Veronica's goal is to do 40 again, but in half the time. Right?
That's a good goal.
She does not want to, right? But then Mike, the guy who comes in after her, he wants to dominate the world and do 100. Okay? So they're very different, but both goals are genuine and just as important, right? Veronica, so they're very different. And that's why you've got to make sure that, like you said, not everybody's the same. I'm not trying to help everybody build a business, right? And so that's, yes. So yeah, I understand. I don't need to know the intimate details of every weekend, right? With their family. Right. But I need to know. I need to know what's going on with their family. I need to know, is their spouse or significant other on board, right? With real estate, because if they're not on board, it's going to make it twice as hard.
Yeah.
And I need to know what's their situation with kids. And you know what I mean? I need to know these things. And that's why, and outside of the one-on-one meeting as a team, that's why we try to have quarterly team functions where we're bringing the family. We invite wives, kids to be coming to the office. You know what I mean? And get to know everyone. I think that's important.
Yeah, I was just listening to another podcast with a high-level recruiting coach. Me and him go back and forth on Facebook about stuff all the time. So if anybody knows me, you probably know who I'm talking about. But on the podcast, somebody asked him what's one of the main obstacles that holds back a recruiter, which is essentially a salesperson, from being successful in their business. And he says it has nothing to do with the business, is almost 100% what's going on outside the business, in their family life, with their spouse, with their kids. Like that literally can trump everything else. If that's not right, it doesn't matter what other business acumen you have, like the whole thing will fall apart and it will zap you of energy and time and the biggest thing is energy. It will sap your energy that you need to chase building your business if the home life isn't right.
Yep, I agree, 100%.
Yeah. All right, so diving back into the checklist here real quick, and then we'll finish up. So we talked about the agent accountability tracker, and then you're evaluating the numbers. You're giving them praise or coaching, and that's where it's super individualized based on what their goals are. Then you're going through, but the Boomtown stuff, that is not individualized. Everybody has essentially the same best practices that they're following, right?
Absolutely. Yep, okay. We have the best practices, and I can kind of dive into what our requirements are for each category if you're interested in that.
We'll probably go we might go in depth on that on another podcast, so I don't want to go into that too much here.
Yep, everybody's got the same requirements on that, though. We'll double check to make sure. We just want to make sure that they're keeping the leads up to date and they're handling the leads the way we expect.
Okay, yeah, because I'm curious, like with the guys that are doing, let's say 40 to 100 units, they're going above and beyond what you guys expect in terms of the minimum number of calls made. So they're putting, I would think, they're putting more leads into their pipeline. So do the requirements in terms of follow-up stay the same, or if they're generating these leads from their sphere and from circle prospecting, all like calling expireds and all this stuff, do you guys kind of set those aside and treat those differently in terms of how they're expected to follow up?
Nope.
Really?
Lead follow-up is lead follow-up. It's a proven system on how you should be handling the leads that come in, whether they're an internet-generated lead from the team or whether you're doing your own prospect doing circle call. The follow-up that we have set up works, and I don't know why agent would not want to use that follow-up with their. We don't care just about our leads, right? The internet generator team leads where we get the the bigger splits, those types of things. We care about all of the leads, and so I want them to be just as successful with their own sphere leads as they are with the internet generated leads, because it sets up that bigger picture how they are a, what do we call it, a healthy and stable agent, where they're having multiple lead sources, right? Where they're doing prospecting calls, internet lead gen, sphere, open house, whatever it is. We want you to be successful at all of them, because I want you to be able to rinse and repeat every January 1st and not worry about how am I going to do that again. I had a great year. How do I do it? So yeah, it does not matter what the lead source. We want the follow up no matter what.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, and that I think helps drive the point, and is very aligned with Jeff's whole 3 buckets and just his overall mission of making sure that they're, you know, whether you want to call it a business or a career, that they're focused on building something that can sustain itself outside of just the internet leads that you guys are providing them. So I like that.
Absolutely. It's it also helps build that trust.
Yeah. Because
you're helping them create their own leads, you know, which they're making more money on. Yeah. And that's important. You know what I mean? Then they start to trust you.
Yeah, exactly. And Jeff has talked about this a lot in terms of bringing more value over time. In order for people to stick around, you have to keep on bringing them value, and that's one of the ways that you guys do that, is helping them get more of the leads that are going to, you know, be at a higher split to them and help them build a more sustainable business, rather than just kind of weaning them off, hopefully, the internet leads gradually, so that they stick around. You're providing value to them. They stick around, but they get a better business, and everybody wins. So I think that's an important distinction, where I think there's a lot of teams out there that try to capture, and they try to find that sweet spot where they can capture as much of the commission from their agents as they can without getting them to leave. I think that's, you know, maybe it's a value difference there, you know, and it's subtle in the way it's communicated to agents, and it can really only manifest itself in a few percentage points here and there, but it does manifest itself, and people feel it.
Yep, absolutely, I agree.
Yeah. All right, so you go through Boomtown, then you physically go into every category, add up any deficient leads, and that's, I feel like that's really where a lot of the coaching and the massaging and the bringing back their goals and all this stuff kind of comes into play. There's a lot. We can go super deep on that, but we'll skip that for now.
Okay.
But that's so you essentially go and you're adding up the deficient leads, and then you're holding them accountable. Kind of hopefully throughout the week, they're reporting back to you that they're getting things squared away before you have to address it in the next one-on-one, which is good.
Yep.
Then you're going over their previous 7-day goal that they set, and then you're coaching and helping on that, and then setting another 7-day goal, and they're typing it in to, what is it, Boomtown? Are they typing into that, or is it?
We have it on an Excel spreadsheet that we've created. We have.
Okay.
Yep, that we have on there, and they type it in themselves. And the thing I like about it is all of this is public to everyone on the team, so everybody sees everybody else's numbers.
Yeah.
It's a little, you know, group peer pressure.
Yeah.
You know, so everybody knows who's doing what. Absolutely, the numbers never lie, and we've always been super transparent, all the way from Jeff all the way down.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I don't think in the standard, like the KW kind of a 411 system, as far as I know, because they have implemented this while I was at Viral Marketing, everything was private, and that's so it's interesting that you guys help them set a public 7-day kind of a business building goal, essentially.
Yep. Well, and it's also nice too is you know, an agent may pull that up and say, okay, well, what is I'm supposed to be working on this week? And they say 2 other agents have a similar goal, right? Well, maybe they get together, and it's a training that they all can go to together, or it's, you know what I mean? It's something like that, and then they can brainstorm and mastermind together, because we don't want, you know, 30 individual agents out there trying to conquer the world. You know what I mean? We want them to be working together and helping each other out, because also then we talk about team chemistry, culture, things like that. But yeah, and it's also, so it's in a positive way, and it also has that little bit of a, man, everybody knows how many leads I have behind, or you know what I mean? Everybody knows that I accomplished this or not.
Yeah, it's true.
You know what I mean? But again, those are all the goals that they've set, and it's not only my job, but it's the team's job to help them accomplish those.
Yeah. Well, and it kind of, you know, talking about nagging rights, it's joining the team there in Omaha is like giving 30 other people a small slice of your nagging rights.
Absolutely. Yes. I hear it all the time. If I know for a fact, because I mean, obviously I've been doing this for a while, and I know everybody's got, you know, they're good friends with some people, you know, better friends with others. I know if somebody's not at the accountability meeting in the morning, I know that I can pick out 2 or 3 people that are sending them a text message. You know what I mean? Like, why aren't you here? You know what I mean? Where are you at? What's more important than making money? Or you know what I mean? And they'll be doing my work for me. I won't even have to say a thing. I can be the good guy who's understanding, right? I go, I thought that was horrible. Because they got 3 other people breathing down their neck, giving them a hard time. I don't know.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right. So then you finish off with individual coaching. So that's everything from time blocking, scheduling some individual, like one-on-one time for additional training, or setting them up with some additional training. What do we do more of, do less of, get feedback about the team in general, and then go over specific obstacles and struggles that they're dealing with. And good Lord, you can knock all of that out in 20 minutes.
Yeah, it depends on the agent. There's going to be an agent that comes in and we can bust through, and they're going to have 0 deficient leads. They have perfect attendance. There's nothing, you know what I mean? We can shoot straight over. That takes 2 minutes. We can shoot straight over to the meat and potatoes of it.
Yeah.
There are other people who, you know what I mean? We're slogging through the mud trying to get to that point. But you know what? We're also having a conversation the entire time. You know what I mean? It's not like the room's dead quiet. So, but yeah, it's taken a lot of time. They used to be 30 to 40 minutes long, and we've got them to be, I would never want them to be less than 20. And the good news is like I said, I have those hours set aside throughout the week that if they need more time for one-on-one attention, we can schedule that.
Yeah, the office hours.
Yep, and I do that with agents. In your first 2 months, you're required to schedule every other week with me for a half hour. We'll figure something to talk about.
Oh, nice.
You know what I mean? I just want to make sure that I'm touching base with them, because that's where you can lose somebody is right off the bat if they don't feel like they're connecting or they're getting lost in the shuffle. I want to make sure that they have that with me, because then it also sets it up down the road when we have real things to talk about and real issues in production, that there's already that trust and bond built.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, very cool. So, so anything else that you want to add just in terms of the checklist? I think I've got pretty much the main points down here. And so anything else that you want to add to that?
Pretty much it. We also add in, like we talked about their calls, their unit sales, right? Their unit, it's right side by side is how many units have you sold so far and what's your goal for the end of the year. So it's always front and center. We will also go through, we'll keep an eye on where their unit's coming from. And of course, this is a whole nother podcast. We'll get into our operations manager and how his numbers help me keep them accountable. But, you can also go through that. One thing I will say is sometimes it seems like we really didn't get much accomplished in that 20 minutes. You know what I mean? It was like some chit chat. We got the numbers in, and sometimes you're like, it wasn't groundbreaking.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be groundbreaking every time. It doesn't have to be a huge revelation every Monday for 20 minutes or Wednesday. What I found is there's weeks where I've gone on vacation. I do that occasionally. My wife makes me. So we'll go out, go out of the country for a week and a half.
Right.
And I miss a Monday or two, and you will see the office is vacant. There are no agents around. Right? Nobody comes to the trainings, the call blitzes, the dialogue, anything, because if they don't have that mandatory meeting to be at and nobody to say, where were you?
Right.
It's all of a sudden, you know what I mean? And it's just, you've seen that literally things seem to fall apart. So just the act of having the meeting is the most important part.
Yeah.
Just the act of having it is the most important part. Then, because I'll come back from a trip and how'd everything go? And the admin staff will be like, it was great. Nobody was here ever all week. You know what I mean? And you're like, oh.
Right.
So just by being there and having the meeting scheduled is you know what I mean? You're going to have.
Yeah, and I think that's the ideal is you build your systems, so the systems do 90% of the work, and that way no individual person or the individual meeting doesn't have to be groundbreaking, which that's a great point. Just executing the system week after week does the job, right? That's what you're hopefully shooting for when you're building systems into your business, so that no one specific thing is dependent on the talent of the individual person, hopefully, or on something going extraordinarily well, because you can't count on that. You can only count on what can you do day in and day out.
Right. It's a grind. And we're there to help them grind. And the other thing is you're not going to recreate the wheel on 20 minutes on a Monday afternoon. You know what I mean?
I don't understand.
It's not gonna happen.
Come on.
I know.
Come on.
I know.
You gotta bring your A coaching game.
Exactly. I'll be like Jeff and I'll have a Rockstar energy drink and we get it done.
I tell you what, we'll get you a mini firewalking apparatus, like in your office or something, and just bring them in, and like every week they have to just walk over hot coals.
That's right. This is happening. Life changing.
Like you're gonna have a spiritual revelation right now, or else.
or else we're cutting your leads off. Yeah, that'd be great. Wonderful motivation. I'd show them.
Exactly. All right. Well, with that, we'll wrap this one up. So, like I said, in future ones, we're gonna put Andy on the podcast together with other people that hold similar positions, whether they're, whatever they're called, they go by a lot of names: operations managers, director of operations, sales managers, success managers, whatever. We'll get them from other top teams around the country so that they can compare notes, and you'll get to listen in on these conversations with people that are in the trenches, helping agents be successful every day in a team context. Is a lot different than broker coaching. This is a lot different than Mike Ferry, Tom Ferry coaching top producer style. This is a completely different animal. This is, like you said, you're helping people grind, and you're helping people do different things like maintain their income, but cut down on time, get more family time. Like the whole dynamic is a lot different, I think, than coaching top producers. So to me, it's really interesting, and we're going to get some other people in to chat with Andy about how they do that and different approaches they can take and different methods, and how they hold their agents accountable, what their team structures are, their team meetings, their individual meetings, what they go over in those meetings, and all kinds of stuff. So that's what you got to look forward to in Andy's episodes of the Team Building Podcast. So with that, we'll put a nice little bow on this one, and we'll let you get back to doing what you presumably do, which is you also actually work and you sell real estate and you do other things.
I do. I try. Yes.
All right.
Yes, I got a listing presentation right after this, Matt, so I appreciate it. It was great.
Awesome.
I'm looking forward to those other podcasts. I'm
Yes,
looking
they're
forward to
gonna be
hear
good.
what other people do. Yep.
All right. Awesome.